It is nice every once in a while to see Republicans and Democrats getting together and having an intellectual discussion with no yelling above each other about American politics. Fox and Friends did a segment that was quite insightful. I enjoyed it. I hope you do too. Here it is.
Host of Fox News contributor David Webb, along with Wall Street Journal reporter Shelby Holliday and Democratic strategist Michael Tobin. Michael, I have to start with you on the Democratic side. Oh. Nice to see you this morning. So this resist movement, are we starting to see some fracturing here among Democrats that this thing is not working, that they need to have a cohesive plan in order to win in 2018?
Right, fracturing is exactly the right word, because when we say what's the Democratic response, are Democrats spending too much time talking about Russia, what is their plan, we're assuming that there's one Democratic Party at this point, when there are actually several. There's the Sanders-Warren wing of the party, there's leadership in a more centrist group, and then there are the younger folks that are out there thinking it needs to sort of be working with these protest movements around the country. So when we say Democrats, who are we talking about? There's a lot of disagreement.
That's a good question, and you're hearing that from a Democrat, Shelby. That's an interesting take here. Where do Democrats look for leadership right now? To Maxine Waters calling for impeachment?
Well, the time is ticking, but they're scrambling to find leadership. You see these disagreements about Nancy Pelosi, about different figures within the DNC and also within the party. We do know that the country is divided over Russia. Some people think it's a big deal, some people don't. But we also know that generally Americans think terrorism, the economy, and healthcare are the top three issues. That's not what Democrats are talking about. Now, politically, that's not helpful in winning special elections. It's not helpful in uniting the base. But I will say in Congress, it has been effective in blocking the Republican agenda, at least up until now. Because when you hear Democrats talk about Russia, Trump goes on Twitter. Some things result from Trump's tweets, such as a special counsel after his tweet about the tapes. And so overall, we're spending a tremendous amount of time talking about Russia, not just because Democrats are talking about it, but because the president's talking about it as well.
So, David, what's going on here? Are they just trying to needle the president, getting him to say something on Twitter that then we can get a special counsel, get him thrown out? Is that what's going on here?
Well, I mean, look, they don't need to needle him. He's going to choose to go his own way past the media and to the people with 140 characters. The problem is that the Democrats haven't got a policy objection to this. To Shelby's point, obstruction works for them. It stops in Congress. But, you know, it's really not President Trump's agenda. It's the agenda of the millions of people who voted him into office. And this is the problem. They're getting in the way. They're not getting in the way of everything. The White House Office of Innovation, they're advancing the technology initiative. At the EPA, Scott Pruitt looking to attrition out 1,000 employees. And there are other things. There are over 38 pieces of legislation and executive orders combined. The travel ban will eventually go to the Supreme Court. It will be upheld under the Constitution because those are plenary powers. Those are powers given to the president in the Constitution. So the people's agenda is what the Democrats are stopping, and they're losing because John Ossoff can simply sit there and give no policy objection.
Well, they have to pick better candidates. I was in Georgia covering that election. The Democrats need to pick stronger candidates.
Yeah, where is the leadership right now, Michael?
The leadership is, again, still trying to figure this out. It's not enough to be against something, like we saw in Georgia Special. It's not enough to be against something. You have to be for something. And what they are for, whether it is a more progressive leftist agenda or whether it is a more moderate centrist agenda, is what is being debated. And we saw that played out in the Georgia Special.
So we really don't have an answer yet. But I want to get your take and the whole panel's debate right here on what Peter Welch, Democrat from Vermont, had to say. I want to put this up on the screen because on the Russia question this morning, he has this to say. We should stay away from just piling on the criticism of Trump, whether it's about Russia, whether it's about Comey, because that has its own independent dynamic. It's going to happen on its own without us piling on. We're much better off if we just do the hard work of coming up with an agenda. Talking about Trump and Russia doesn't create an agenda. Wow, Michael.
Yes to all of that. I have to tell you the Russia controversy is immensely complicated and with different legal thresholds involving obstruction and possible criminal liability and multiple investigations. I say let that unfold the way it unfolds. Focus on core issues that real people care about.
Shelby, are you hearing that maybe in the quarters, walls of Washington, and you're reporting for the Wall Street Journal that other Democrats agree with him on this?
I think some Democrats agree, but you saw Maxine Waters obviously doesn't agree. She's out there saying impeach 45. What is interesting to me is when you look at polls, you'll see Republicans you know, some Republicans are concerned about Russia, but generally everyone agrees Donald Trump gets more criticism than any other president, and Republicans actually say that solidifies their support for President Trump. That makes them more supportive of the president, and that is not what's going to help Democrats in the midterms because they need some of those Republicans on board.
Were you surprised by the congressman from Vermont?
No, not at all, because the fact is that anyone who looks at what the Democrats stand for can't find it. To your point about the split Democrat Party, they've got the progressive leadership of Perez and Ellison. They've got Debbie Wasserman Schultz in the wings but behind the scenes, and Hillary Clinton out in the woods. Now look at where they are now going forward. What are they doing?
Right.
And by the way, to Maxine Waters and the impeached crowd, the tune-out factors come into play. I've been behind a microphone or in front of a camera for over a quarter century, and people tune out. It's media and messaging. Americans go, what matters to me? Right. My economy, my kitchen table, and my security.